Great American Outdoors Act provides $900 million a year in guaranteed funding for the Land and Water Conservation Fund so that all Americans can continue to enjoy our parks, wildlife refuges. Additionally, this bill provides nearly $10 billion for long-delayed maintenance projects, repairs, and upgrades to make the national parks greater than they have ever been before. We think that's going to happen.
Imagine stepping into Yosemite or Yellowstone and seeing smoother roads, pristine facilities, and modern technology enhancing every part of the visitor experience. No more crumbling trails, outdated visitor centers, or years-long maintenance backlogs. This isn't just a dream. It's exactly what the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, under President Trump and Elon Musk, is aiming to achieve. By reducing bureaucracy and eliminating inefficiencies, DOGE has already cut over 1,000 National Park Service jobs, a move designed to streamline operations and bring in private investment to modernize America's public lands. For decades, the National Park Service has struggled with a $22.3 billion maintenance backlog. Trails are deteriorating, roads are full of potholes, and outdated facilities can't handle growing crowds. Supporters argue that major reform is the only way to fix these issues. But critics warn that these changes could threaten conservation efforts, limit access to public lands, and even lead to privatization. So what's really happening? And will these changes save national parks or destroy them? Let's dig in. DOGE's vision for a more efficient national park system. The idea behind DOGE is simple. Run government agencies like successful businesses. Elon Musk has made a career out of disrupting inefficient industries, and many believe his leadership could do the same for the National Park Service. Right now, too much park funding is tied up in bureaucracy. A large portion of the NPS budget goes to administrative costs, leaving less for actual park improvements. DOGE's strategy is to cut unnecessary positions and use those savings for more direct investments in parks. Another key proposal: bringing in private sector partnerships to help fund national park projects. Imagine Tesla and SpaceX funding solar-powered visitor centers and EV charging stations in parks. Picture private outdoor brands helping to maintain trails and campgrounds in exchange for sponsorship recognition. Envision new, state-of-the-art visitor facilities built with private investment, rather than waiting on slow-moving government budgets. To many, this is the future of national parks, a self-sustaining system that doesn't rely entirely on federal funding. It's an idea that's already been tested in small ways. Some parks currently partner with private companies for shuttle services, and conservation groups help fund certain wildlife protection programs. DOGE would expand these partnerships, allowing private investors to contribute to park improvements while reducing the burden on taxpayers. But what about the risks? The downsides: staff cuts and the uncertain future of conservation. Critics of these changes argue that cutting jobs and shifting to private funding isn't as simple as it sounds. The 000+ layoffs within the NPS included park rangers, scientists, and conservation experts. While supporters claim this eliminates redundancy, others say it's removing critical positions that keep parks running smoothly. Take Yosemite National Park, one of the most visited in the country. Scientists studying endangered species, like the Pacific fisher, have been let go. Without ongoing research and conservation efforts, the survival of these species is at risk. Visitor services have already been reduced. Fewer rangers mean fewer guided hikes, less educational programming, and longer emergency response times. Some parks are struggling to keep up with maintenance. Fewer workers mean a slower response to things like damaged trails and overflowing trash bins. Another concern: the potential for privatization. If the government continues to scale back funding, will private companies eventually take over public lands altogether? For example, if a private company helps fund a new visitor center, will they start charging for access? Could luxury camping experiences replace free, dispersed camping areas? Will parks start prioritizing profit over conservation? This has already happened in some ways. State parks in Arizona and California have had to lease land to private developers just to stay open. Could we see the same thing happen at the federal level? And if private money is the future of national parks, who decides what gets funded? What's next for national parks? The battle between efficiency and conservation is not new, but DOGE's approach may be the most aggressive change to the National Park Service in decades. For some, this is the necessary evolution of a struggling system. National parks need modernization, and the government can't always foot the bill. Cutting red tape and bringing in outside investment might be the only way to keep these places sustainable for the future. For others, this is the beginning of the end for public lands as we know them. If we start relying too much on private money, what happens when a project is no longer profitable? There's no easy answer, so let's talk about it. What do you think? Should national parks rely on private funding to stay operational? Are staff cuts helping or hurting the visitor experience? Is government inefficiency the real problem, or is this just an excuse to commercialize public lands? Drop your thoughts in the comments. This is a conversation worth having.